Thank you everyone for joining today's Google Hangout. This is organized by the International Federation of Journalists Asia Pacific Office as a part of a campaign called Journals Against Shutdown, Campaigns Against Internet Shutdown in South Asia. My name is Ujjwal Acharya. I work for the International Federation of Journalists as the South Asia coordinator.
Hello everyone, my name is Apar Gupta. I practice law in India and I am also a volunteer trustee at the Internet Freedom Foundation. I launched a campaign called keepusonline.in.
I'm Laxmi Murthy. I'm based in Bangalore. I'm a journalist and I'm working with the IFJ.
I'm Nadia, Sharmeen. As you know, I'm a journalist from Bangladesh and I work for Ekkator TV, that is Lubna Journal. I'm based in Karachi. I've been working in the media since '93. I work in the print, the broadcast, and I'm on social media. I'm also affiliated with Karachi Union of Journalists as their senior joint secretary.
I have a brief experience with internet shutdown as a journalist. That was back in 2005. We had weeks of internet shutdown by the autocratic king at that time when he imposed a tight censorship. And at that time, I used to work with a daily newspaper called the Kathmandu Post. So once the internet was shut down, it was really difficult to function normally because without internet, it was like everything was like didn't fall into places where we were so used to be using internet for our work as a journalist. My experience with internet shutdown and journalism is that it really hampers journalism, at least for a few days in the beginning. The internet shutdown basically hampers journalism in two ways. The first, the information that journalists get, it's become really difficult to verify those information, and the second difficulties with these. Is that the newspaper themselves became a very formal one. Rather than being a critical voice, it became a very formal one.
Pakistan's gone through a lot of media internet shutdowns. In 2010, we saw YouTube shut down completely by the government, but that was on the pretext that there was a blasphemous video that was on YouTube. So instead of working around it, they completely shut down YouTube. The day after tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to be experiencing another shutdown because there's going to be a big procession. This is a normal thing that happens here in Pakistan during certain sessions or events or major places that are affected. We usually experience sudden problems in internet. It becomes slow or it becomes interrupted. Experts claim that that's the jammers being used by the VIPs and the sensitive areas. So Pakistan journalists have started using SMS. I think that's the way they found the route around it. Because we even have our phones shut down in such times. So Karachi was one of the cities that was facing this way back when we were having a lot of journalists would then just send SMSs long their room to the newsroom, and it's a big problem for many of us. So we use wireless phones here, or they usually do it manually. They send somebody from the site wherever they're reporting. It's closer to the city. But for journalists living in places like Wana and tribal areas of Pakistan and the typical daily difficulty. In Bangladesh, we are very much used to with Facebook. We communicate with Facebook a lot actually, and email is very much important thing for us, for the journalists especially, because we communicate through that. So when the internet shutdown took place just last year or the year before, we faced a lot of difficulties communicating with each other, and it was very much difficult to even get the news because the invitations actually comes a lot, and it's like a direct communication with our journal people. So when we get this way of communicating. This thing, this internet shutdown, just came as a barrier to that communication with journalists to general people communication, and at the same time, what we are publishing, if we go through internet, just like those online who were publishing news through online, shutting down the internet, it does not help on anything. And just by shutting down something, you cannot prevent any kind of pain or any kind of problem. It cannot face it through shutting down it. You have to face it through other ways.
Nalaka Gunawardhani from Sri Lanka has just joined.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Good to join. Sorry to join a bit late. I had some connectivity issues. Nothing official. It's just at my laptop level. So I'm one-time journalist who is now working as a media researcher and also social media activist.
As a lawyer who's practicing in this area and has been looking at regulation and how policies are developing, it's concerning that online censorship seems to be a constant issue which comes up every few years. Earlier we had issues of selective blocking of websites and orders not being made public, reasons not being given for them. Or we had issues such as the state authorities themselves sending notices to social media companies. With internet shutdowns, I think this has reached another level altogether where access itself is restricted, and this impacts local communities as well as journalists who are more often than not in these areas and may want to report on issues, especially when they concern law and order. Now, India being a constitutional democracy, some of the prescriptions which may be available may be within the law itself. Of course, there are other technological ways to defeat internet shutdowns and prevent censorship, and this has also been a source of sustaining free expression. But I think we should also look at what can the law do. And I think there is no consistent or clear strategy or legal authority across the South Asia region which empowers governments to shut down the internet. In fact, I think given our shared colonial past, we do even share the laws which are premised to be the basis of these shutdowns itself, such as vague powers which are contained for preventing unlawful assemblies, which is the law that is used in India more often than not, rather than our telecommunication law, which does allow the state to prevent access, but at the same point of time, there are no adequate rules which govern the procedure for it. So I think legal strategies do need to be examined. Journalists at the same point of time are under increased threat, not only physical threats, but even a threat to their very work and function, in the sense, how do they get their messages out, how do they get to these places. And I think that's something which will require larger advocacy efforts, and the present one which is being run is an excellent initiative in the right direction. Larger communities of journalists across the South Asia region will need to assertively state that internet shutdowns is a larger civil rights issue, but it's also a press issue. It concerns all of you in terms of what only not you do professionally, but why you do it as well, which is that you are providing a voice to the people who live in these kind of areas where the internet is more often than shut down, where the affluent sections of society may not reside, or where there may not be a high degree of stability. So even what we have noticed in India is that shutdowns more often than not are taking places in regions which are seeing some element of conflict, or which are not as economically prosperous as the metropolitan cities in India. These are just some preliminary thoughts. I think ways to engage with it deeply are to emphasize our civil rights protections, our fundamental rights under our constitutions,
Okay, so one thing is we haven't in Sri Lanka so far we haven't had a complete internet shutdown countrywide, except once, which was unintentional. In the early days of our internet connectivity, there was a cable disruption, and the whole country was without internet for 5 days. This is like 15 years ago, but we've had partial shutdowns during the last stages of our civil war. We had the conflict areas, the mobile telephone services were shut down for weeks at a time, and randomly sometimes the signals would be turned on and turned off, and nobody knew what the schedule was, whether there was one, no such thing. And given that we are predominantly a mobile user country and very limited landlines, I mean, just to give you a sense of statistics now, we have about 125 active mobile connections to 100 persons, more than the number of more than the population. 10 years ago, this should have been different, but still, even then, it was still predominantly mobile, and 80% of internet browsing, internet use is through mobile devices. So when the mobile signals were turned off in the northern and the eastern provinces, that deprived people of all telecom services, including access to internet. This 2006 to 2009, periodically and arbitrarily. And after the war ended, we didn't have such area-specific shutdowns, but we had what some of you also had in other South Asian countries, that is the blocking of political content, websites with political content. The former government, starting in 2007, blocked websites that were carrying political or dissenting viewpoints, and this ended only when governments changed in January 2015. One of the election issues was also ending the arbitrary blocking of political websites, and so far, more than 2 years into this current government, we have not had any websites being blocked, except a few that have been sanctioned by court due to pornographic content. All political websites, including those that are very critical of the government, remain accessible now. I hope we don't join the dubious club of countries that are experiencing internet shutdowns. And at the same time, we would be in solidarity with South Asian countries and countries elsewhere in this advocacy campaign.
I think one of the issues which has come up is also that it's these shutdowns, especially in a country as large as India, it's not like one kill switch shutting everything down, but it's more localized. And therefore, I think struggling against it or challenging it is that much more difficult. The other point also is that it's almost like, almost a given that the shutdowns happen in the places where the internet is needed the most, or during times that it's needed the most. So in conflict areas or in times of civil strife, or Lubna was saying 2 days from now it's going to get shut down. So the times when you're expecting an escalation in any kind of social or political strife is when you need the internet to be able to communicate news, as opposed to rumor and speculation and a whole lot of disturbance. And those are precisely the times when you don't have access to the internet.
I think we need to present both the human rights and the business case against internet shutdowns. increasingly our countries, societies, economies are connected digitally to within the country as well as to the global economy. Shutdowns have a clear, documented, demonstrable economic cost, and that's high. So that is the language that many governments and policymakers hear better than just a simple human rights and freedom of expression case.
Thank you very much for participating in today's Google Hangout. This is the beginning of our message to South Asian government that journalists are against all these internet shutdowns.
Thank you so much for organizing this hangout. I hope that we carry this conversation.